All right, folks, good evening. We're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for joining us tonight for this DataVision Tech Talk. So we're going to go through some iPhone basics, give you some tips and tricks, and show you how to navigate through some settings and some different things just to help you get a little bit better at using your iPhone. So just a little bit about how things are going to be structured today. So um, first off, you can watch the recording of this class afterwards. We're going to post this on the DataVision YouTube channel. The link to that is right here. And if you follow our email newsletters as well, you'll also get links to that throughout your email newsletter. And then tonight, if you have any questions or comments about anything that I'm going over or anything that you'd like to see, go ahead and use the chat button that kind of I put a picture of here in the screenshot right there. And if you don't see this little chat bubble pop up on your screen, if you're on a computer or a laptop, just kind of wiggle your mouse around and you should see a little toolbar pop up from either the top or the bottom of the screen. And then if you're on a tablet or even a smartphone tonight, just tap the screen and you should see that little toolbar pop up right there. Our agenda for the class, we're going to talk about the Apple ID setup and the functions, why it's important to make sure your Apple ID is set up and you've got your email address and your password tucked away safely somewhere, just in case you ever need it. We're going to talk about some general settings and notifications to be aware of, including a local storage on your phone versus a cloud storage, what the difference is between the two. We're going to talk about customizing your home screen, downloading and deleting apps. We're going to be using and customizing the control center, a really nice method for utilizing some quick shortcuts. We're going to talk about some camera settings as well, some how to add filters and how to use the different functions of your camera to take different types of photos and videos. I'm going to go over a couple of my personal favorite shortcuts and tips that I use on my iPhone on a daily basis. And then if there's time, we're going to talk about a couple of new features that are part of the iOS 17 software update that launched a few months ago. Okay, so, all right. So, one thing I want to start with really quick is just a couple of warm-up tips for some of my favorite tips. So, one thing that I use like 1,000 times a day is the control center. And when I'm doing things on my screen here, you're not really going to be able to see me tapping different places on the screen, but I'll kind of point out where I'm touching on my screen so that you guys don't get lost. So for this function on newer iPhones, I believe it's iPhone, anything newer than iPhone 8, you can swipe down from the top right corner of the screen. You can see in the very top right corner, you can see my little battery that's charging icon and then the Wi-Fi symbol above it. If I just swipe my finger down from the top right, this opens what's called the control center. It's essentially just a little shortcut section where I can do some different stuff. So I just want to call out a couple of things here in the shortcut section. Number one, in kind of the top left where you can see right below the video effects icon that's on, this area with the airplane and the green and the blue button right there, that's my connection settings. And there's a couple different things that I can do. So what I'm going to do real quick is hold down on one of those and it's going to expand it and show me some more options. So the little white one that has the B, that's the Bluetooth symbol. I'm just going to hold down that real quick. And it's just going to expand my options right here. So again, these are my connection settings. You can see here that I have my cellular data and my Wi-Fi connections are both on right now. I'm connected to Wi-Fi, so I'm not using cellular data. My Bluetooth is not on right now, but if I wanted to, I could just tap it and it would turn blue, and then I could connect to, say, a pair of wireless Bluetooth headphones. If your mobile carrier like AT&T or Verizon or whatever your mobile plan supports a personal hotspot, this is where you can also turn that off or on. And this is where you can essentially use your mobile data as a personal kind of Wi-Fi network. I will say this is not going to be as good as your DataVision Wi-Fi since it's coming from a mobile provider instead of the fiber that's in the ground. But I use this very rarely, mostly when I'm traveling. Maybe we're on a layover in the airport and I want to watch a show or something like that on my laptop. I can connect to my phone's mobile hotspot and essentially use it as a little Wi-Fi network, assuming that you have good cell service in that area. So that's how you would use that. And one function that I really like right here, it's called AirDrop. And this is just a way to share files and photos and things with other iPhone users that are nearby. So if I were to um, hold down on that, it's going to give me a couple of options. So it automatically turns receiving off. But if you were to tap on contacts only, and this requires Bluetooth to use, I should have mentioned that at first, but you saw that it turned my Bluetooth on automatically. Um, or I can choose everyone for 10 minutes. That means that I can transfer files and photos with folks that are nearby, even if I don't have them saved as a contact. But for security purposes, iPhone has set that to just a 10-minute limit. So this is a nice little feature. I like doing this. We did it the other weekend. Buddy and I went on a hike and took some photos, and we actually didn't have any cell service where we were. So I wanted to share some of the photos with him that I took. So I turned my Bluetooth on and then I sent them to him via AirDrop. And you can do this from inside of your photos where you would go to normally share a photo with someone. And then you just select the AirDrop as well if you both have on your sharing permissions here. And this is really nice to use because it preserves the original quality of the photos and the videos, and it sends them over very quickly, as opposed to having to wait for them to send over a text message. So one of my favorite features. Also in the control center right here, I've got a couple of more things. You can kind of see this lock symbol with the little arrow rotating around it. That is my screen orientation. So what it means when it's lit up like that, that means my screen lock is on, my screen orientation lock is on. So if I were to take my phone and tilt it on its side, my screen isn't gonna, what's on my screen isn't gonna rotate to landscape mode. I personally don't like it when my phone does that. Say I'm reading an article or something, and then I tilt my phone or I move my phone a little bit. If that's off, or if that's yeah, if your screen orientation is not on like mine is there, then it'll rotate your screen. I don't like that. But if I were to tap on that, and you can see it becomes unlit, that means that anything I'm reading on my phone, different articles and photos, social media, things like that, if I tilt my phone landscape mode, the screen orientation is going to move with it. So that's that. Right below it, you have your do not disturb. I currently have it on just because we're doing a tech talk right now. So if anybody texts me or calls me, it's not going to give me that notification because I have do not disturb on. So if I hold my finger down on that again, it gives me a couple of options, and this is called your focus. So there's a couple of different options that you can choose from here. I actually use the sleep function for nighttime rather than do not disturb, because sleep, you can set like a sleep schedule and then it automatically turns on. Say you've set 8 hours for yourself, and your bedtime for, tonight on a Wednesday night is maybe 10 p.m. So it'll automatically turn on at 10 p.m. And then sleep is essentially do not disturb, but it also wakes you up at the time the next day that you set to. There's also some custom focus settings you can do, say for work hours and things like that. And with each of these, you can set custom permissions. So just as an example, whenever I have do not disturb on, I have a couple of contacts in my phone that I want to make sure, even if I have do not disturb on, I can still get phone calls and text messages from them just in case it's an emergency, right? So, like at nighttime, I've got sleep mode on and I don't get any notifications except for from a couple of people if they were to give me a phone call or a text message. Again, just in the case of an emergency. And you can customize all of these things as well. Okay. So that's the focus section of the control center. You can see right below that, I've got a couple of icons. Number one on the left looks like a little flashlight, and that's exactly what that is. If I tap that, I'm gonna lift my phone up, turns my flashlight on. Really easy way to get to your phone's flashlight. And again, I can hold my finger down on it and I can change the brightness levels of the flashlight as well by tapping into those different boxes. So, we all need a flashlight every now and then. This is an easy way to get to yours built into your phone. Right next to that is a little camera icon. So if I tap into that, it's going to open up my phone's camera. Just a little bit of a shortcut to get there. Right next to that, I've got this is my clock function. So if I go in there, I can set stopwatches and timers and adjust alarms. I've got calculator next to that. So if I click on calculator, just opens up my calculator app. And one really nice thing about the control center is you don't have to be on the home screen to access this. You can access the control center no matter where you're at in your phone. So right now I've got the calculator app open. If I swipe down from the top right of my screen, I can still open the control center and get to some different shortcuts. Really nice little feature. And then down below, I've also got like battery saver, the blinking red light. That just means that I'm sharing my screen right now, or I'm screen recording, which is what I'm doing for this tech talk right now. And you can actually customize the different shortcuts that you have right down here. And I'll show you that in a little bit once we dive into our settings. And then really the two last things to point out here on the right, those kind of little bar measurements there with the sun and the phone, that is my screen brightness with the little sun symbol. So if I just move that up and down, that increases or decreases my screen brightness. You guys can't see it on the screen right now, but it is doing it on my phone. And then the little phone symbol right there, that is just your overall volume level on your phone. Okay. So that's the control center that I wanted to just hop into real quick. Another quick little personal favorite shortcut of mine to sort of warm up with. So from the home screen, when you're on your home screen right here, if you just swipe downwards from the middle of your screen, it's going to open up this little menu right here. This is where you can just search for anything on your phone. So you can see automatically my cursor populates in the search bar right there. So if I'm looking for a particular app, or you can see right there, it even kept one of my most recent searches that I put in right here. I just typed in fishing as an example. So the search function is just a nice little shortcut. Maybe you can't find an app on your phone. What I actually like to use this for personally is to search through my text messages with my friends and family to try and find maybe a message, and I don't want to scroll all the way through all my text messages to try and find something. So just as an example, we're planning a birthday party for my buddy coming up in a couple weeks. And there's lots and lots of messages in that kind of text message chain that I have going on with the group that's planning it. And I wanted to find some details about our reservation for one of our events that we have going on. So what I can do is just type in the word reservation or some other keyword that's related to what you're looking for right there. So I'm just going to type in birthday, for example. And you can see I've got a couple of things that pop up. I've got mail and things like that. And then you can see down here in my text messages that I have a couple of texts that show up that mention the keyword birthday right there. So that's how that function works right there. And if I want to, I just go back to my home screen, and then I'm here and I can do what I want. So again, that tip is just swipe down from the middle of your screen, and then you can open up that little search function right there. Nice little tip that I like personally. Okay, let's jump into some of our settings and talk about those. So my phone probably looks a little bit different than yours. I kind of have a lot of my apps organized into folders and things like that. But to get to the settings, we're going to find this gray gear icon right here that says settings underneath it. And again, if you can't find something on your phone, just scroll down or swipe down from the middle of your screen. Me personally, up top, my Siri suggests settings right there, but you can always just type in SET and it'll open up your settings right there. All right. So right here is our main settings area where we can adjust a bunch of different things. First, I want to talk about the Apple ID, what that is and why it's important. So the very kind of top of my screen underneath the search bar, you can see my picture and my name right there. So that says Apple ID, iCloud Plus, Media, and Purchases. So with this, if I were to tap on it, that takes me into my Apple ID settings. And you can see there's a couple of different things that I can look at right here. Now, I just want to mention that in order to download apps and do a lot of different things on your iPhone, you need to be signed in to your Apple ID. It requires an email and a password for your account. I would highly recommend keeping your email address and your password associated with your Apple ID. Maybe write it down and keep it somewhere safe. Or maybe you use a password manager online like LastPass. That's a good way to go too. But make sure you've got this login information handy, because every now and then you'll be prompted to log into your Apple ID, whether you're downloading an app or changing your payment settings or security settings on your phone, different things like that. So keep your email and your password for your Apple ID handy, because you're going to need it at some point. Okay. I wanted to mention a couple of things in here. Number one is subscriptions. So you can kind of see that towards the top middle of my screen right here. If I were to tap on that, this is where I could sort of manage any paid subscriptions for apps that I've purchased on my phone. And you can see that I've got a couple here personally. Um, so up at the top, you can see I've got a couple subscriptions, Apple TV Plus, and yes, I do play Pokemon Go and I play disc golf. So I've got a couple of apps that I subscribe to that let me get a couple of premium features there. Um, so um, Keep in mind that most apps on the App Store, not all of them, but most of them are actually free to download onto your phone. But then the content of the app itself might require an additional payment or a subscription. So, just as an example, I'm going to use UDisc Disc Golf as an example here. So, the app itself, I can go to the App Store and download it for free onto my phone. It doesn't cost anything, but there is a premium level of the subscription that gives me different features and things like that inside of the app that they do charge for. You can see right here that it's a $30 per year purchase right there. And that's telling me that I've purchased this before and it's going to renew. It actually just renewed recently, it renewed on March 3rd. But in here, if I wanted to, I could tap on it and then I can cancel my subscription right from here, excuse me. And I actually did this recently with my Apple TV Plus subscription. I had a subscription. There was a couple shows that I wanted to watch on there, but I no longer wanted to have that subscription after I watched the shows that I wanted to. So I just went here into my subscriptions, and then I canceled it from there. So that's how you could do that. One other thing I want to call out here, you can see the little green sort of radar in the middle. It says Find My. And I personally would recommend turning this on just in the event that you ever lose your iPhone. If it ever gets stolen or, the worst situation happens, the location services are on so you can locate it. I've actually had to use this before. I've left my phone somewhere. And then you can actually go to iCloud.com, sign in with your Apple ID, your email, and your password that I just mentioned. And then you can go to the little Find My section there on iCloud.com and then locate your phone if this is on. And you can also do this with Apple Watches. You can do it with AirPods, earbuds, and a couple other things as well. I actually have a couple of little location taggers. They're called air tags. And I have one, for example, in my car, and I have one in my disc golf bag. So if I ever lose my disc golf bag, for example, or it gets stolen, I've got a little air tag kind of tucked in there, so I can go find it if I ever need to. That's a nice little thing to have. And if you're curious more about that, send us an email later, and I can give you some more details, or just kind of Google air tags. Really nice little thing and super easy to set up and use. So let's see. We talked about paid app subscriptions and Find My permissions. Perfect. Oh, one more thing I just want to mention here with your Apple ID, your email, and your password. If you ever forget your password, go to iforgot.apple.com. iforgot.apple.com, and then that's going to prompt you to go through the password reset process. You're going to enter your email, send you a link, and then you can reset your password. And then my co-host tonight, Amy, just put that link in the chat right there if you guys need to access it. So just a good little tip right there. Okay, let's jump back into our settings real quick. We're going to go into the general settings right here. You can see that kind of the main cog that says general right there. And we're just going to see what iPhone we have. So I'm just going to tap on About up here. And this is going to give me some details about my phone itself. So you can see that up at the top, my name of my phone is Connor's iPhone. You can rename it whatever you want. It tells me which software version I'm running. And then right below that, it tells me which version of the iPhone I have. I personally have the iPhone 13 Pro. Not everybody might have that one. Yours might say something different right there. Okay. And then as we scroll down, it even gives you some details about how much storage you've used on your phone with different types of media. You can see that I cannot believe I'm up to almost 12,500 photos on my phone by now. That is pretty crazy. And almost 1,000 videos. I'm getting there. I tend to audit my videos and delete those a lot more, though, because they take up a lot more storage space. So and you can see I have 118 apps on my phone. And my phone's built-in capacity is 256 gigabytes, and I still have about 85 gigabytes of free space available on my phone. So that just gives you some more details. So that is the general section of your settings. I want to talk about a couple of other things here in terms of security and your display. So let's hop into our display settings. So right below general, right there, you can see display and brightness, kind of this little blue sun symbol right there. This is where I can change some display settings for my phone. You can see right at the top, I've got two options for the main appearance of my phone. I'm currently using light mode. I actually normally use dark mode, but for the purposes of this tech talk, I changed it to light just so you can see the screen a little better. But if I change it to dark mode, you can see there that it makes my screen black, and then it makes all my text and buttons white. So light mode, dark mode. I just personally like dark mode a little bit better. I find that it's kind of easier on my eyes, and I actually sort of like reading the white text over the black background as opposed to the black text over the white background. So again, this is a little easier on the eyes, especially at nighttime as we're kind of getting closer to bed. Um, and it can actually save on your phone's battery a little bit because there's not as much light coming out of your screen, so it's not using as much of that battery power. I'm going to switch back to light mode just so we can see a little better. And then as I scroll down, you can see in the middle that there is a text size function right here. This is a really easy way just to increase the overall text size for your phone. So at the bottom of the screen, I have this little slider. So if I just move that over to the right, you can see up at the top that the text size is increasing as I get there. And then if I go even slower, I can make it really tiny if for some reason I wanted small text. I'm just going to leave it kind of right in the middle at the default. That's where I like it. But this is a good way. If you're somebody who wants to see larger text on your phone, just go in here to display and brightness, text size, and then go ahead and increase it. Another way to make things a little easier to see on your phone is the bold text right underneath that. You can see the little slider to the right. If it's not highlighted green, like right below, you can see True Tone. That means that that is on. So if I turn bold text on, it bolds my text, makes it a little bit easier to see. I'm going to turn that back off. And then there's a couple of other things that I can adjust right here too. So one of them being night shift. So night shift is actually a sort of a schedule for the blue light that comes out of your phone. You can see that I have a schedule from 9 p.m. to 7 a.m. every day. This essentially means that between those hours, my phone is going to dim the amount of blue light that comes from the background and make it more of a warm yellow type of light. And studies have shown that less blue light is better for your eyes, especially as we get closer to bedtime. If you're looking at a really bright screen with a lot of the blue light before bed, it can actually make it more difficult to fall asleep and to stay asleep. So the little slider down here, you can see you're not going to be able to see the blue light and the yellow light change on your screen. But if you have your iPhone handy, I recommend giving this a try. If you slide it over to less warm, the screen is going to appear brighter, a little more white and with that blue light. But if I slide it over to the right towards more warm, the overall background of the phone is going to change to a more yellowish sort of tint and be a little bit less intense on the eyes. So again, every night at 9, this turns on for me and it dims the blue light. So I personally like having that. And then one more thing to talk about here, sort of at the bottom, is the auto lock. So auto lock right here just says if I set my phone down, if I'm doing something and I set my phone down, after 2 minutes, my phone is going to lock. And I can change that from 30 seconds all the way up to 5 minutes, or I can choose never. I personally would not recommend choosing never here because that means if you just set your phone down, it's not going to lock automatically. And that's not the greatest security feature. We want our phone to lock automatically because that protects a lot of the personal information that we have on our devices. So I would recommend choosing, whichever one you like. I just have it at 2 minutes. I think that's a reasonable amount of time. Or if I set my phone down on my desk without manually locking it, then it's going to lock itself after 2 minutes. Okay. And then I also have on down here right below that a function called raise to wake. That means if my phone is locked and say my phone's on my desk right here and it's locked and I pick it up, it's going to recognize that I picked it up and it's going to show me the lock screen. So anything that's on my lock screen, like if I have a missed call or a text message or something like that, it's going to show up. Some studies have shown that we pick up our phones like over 150 times per day. So I just like the little function where if I pick up my phone, it's just automatically going to show me, again, if I have any missed notifications or show me the clock, things like that. So I have that on, but totally up to you. Okay, let's talk a little bit about customizing your notifications. So again, from the main settings area right here, the notifications area is this little red bell. And if I tap on that, this lets me customize what types of notifications I get and what they look like on my phone. So you can see right at the top, um, I can choose how they appear on my phone. So right now I have it as a list. So that means if I get any notifications for, say, a missed call, a text message, or somebody likes my post on Facebook, or an app is available for an update or something like that, they're just going to kind of show up individually in a list. Um, if I wanted to, I could change that to count, and that's just going to tell me at the bottom how many notifications that I have, or I can kind of stack them all on top of each other. But it kind of does like a front to back sort of thing. I personally like list. I think it's the easiest and makes the most sense to see. Um, and then as I go down, this is where I can adjust the notifications that I get from my individual apps on my phone. Um, this is something I actually need to go in and customize a little bit more because every now and then I get notifications that I don't really need or care about. Like I just recently turned this off, but for a while I had the Costco app and they would send me little notifications like, "Hey, the weekly deal is here," or discounts coming up. And it's like I don't need to receive that stuff. So what you can do is go in here. Just for example, here's Costco, and I have notifications off for this. But if I wanted to, I could turn these on. Again, just hit the little slider right there. And then you can customize, again, how those notifications appear. If you want sounds from them, that means do you want this to make a little ringtone when you get a notification? Um, and then you can decide, what that preview looks like. So if your phone is locked and you get a new text message, if I actually have my previews on right here for always, what that means is I'm going to use text messages as an example here. If my phone is locked and I get a text message and then I look at the lock screen, when I have it set to always, it's going to show me that text message right there on the lock screen. I personally don't usually have this on, but again, totally up to you. I usually have it set to when unlocked. So if I get a text message and my phone's locked, I just see who it's from. I don't get to see what the text message says until I unlock my phone. I think that's a little bit of a security feature personally, and just sort of a privacy feature as well. And that's just kind of the way that I've chosen to do that. So again, you can choose individual apps here, which ones you want to get notifications from. So again, I don't really need notifications from Costco. I'm good. If I ever want to use the app, I will just go in there myself. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn off notifications. That means that anytime Costco wants to send out, alerts about, sales or things like that, they're not going to be coming to my phone. However, there's lots of apps that I do want to get notifications for. So just as an example, I'm going to go to text messages down here. So these are my messages right here. And I definitely want to receive a notification when I get a text message, right? And then I've got it down here for critical alerts and then time sensitive notifications. So critical alerts are like every now and then we get, um, I think this would be like where an Amber Alert or like a local weather alert would pop up. I'm actually not totally sure what critical alerts mean really, but I figure I would leave it on. And then down below, you can see that I can choose where I want to get my different alerts. Do I want them to show up on my lock screen? If not, I can tap that right there. And then that means I'm not going to get text message notifications showing up on my lock screen. And then as I go down, I can change my ringtone for this notification. And this is just for text messages. So I know some people who like to have different sounds and alerts for different apps. So just as an example, people might have a certain text tone for a different person. So they know, oh yeah, that's the sound that's associated with, my spouse or my kids or something like that. So lots of customization that you can do right in here. So that is how you customize your notifications. You can quiet any apps that you might be getting a bunch of notifications from. Just come in here and choose one of them, like the Fred Meyer app. I was doing the same thing. I was getting notifications from them. I came in here and I turned that off. So that's how you would adjust that. All right, we're going to go back to our main settings area. I mentioned that you can control which shortcuts appear in the control center. Again, that's that little area that appears when I swipe down from the top right of my screen. So right below General, I can tap on Control Center, and this is where I can customize which shortcuts appear in the Control Center. First things first, I mentioned that you can access this wherever you're at. So I have that setting turned on right here, access within apps. So if I were to turn that off, that means if I'm inside of an app, not on my home screen, I don't have access to the control center. I don't like that. I like being able to access my control center wherever I'm at in case I need to adjust my brightness or my volume or something like that. So I like to leave that on. So down below, you can see what I currently have included in my controls for my control center. But then there's even more controls underneath that with the little green plus sign right there. If I were to hit that, then it would add it to my control center. So just as an example, I'm going to add dark mode to my control center. And then if I open my control center, you can see at the very bottom there, dark mode just was added to my control center. So if I were to tap that, it would turn on dark mode. I have one in here. It's called music recognition. This is actually it's linked to an app that I have. It's called Shazam. And if I'm ever out in a place like say an airport or a restaurant or something like that, and I hear a song I actually like to use this, and then it listens to the song, and then it actually tells me what the name of the song is. And I like this because it gives me a shortcut for my control center, so I don't have to go find the app, open it, press the button to record. All I have to do, swipe down from the top right, boom, press the Shazam button right there, and now it's listening for a song. That's just one example of one of the shortcuts that you can have here in your control center. You can also see that there's like stopwatch. I can add text size here, timer, different things like that. So I like the control center. I think it's really easy to use. Okay, let's talk a little bit about some privacy and security settings right here. All right, so I'm back in the main settings area, and I'm going to scroll down a little bit. This little blue square with the white sort of handprint in the middle, that's my privacy and security settings. So this is where you can sort of control how much access to your personal data your phone and your apps have. So right at the top right here, you can see that I have location services on. So that means that any of the apps that might need to use my location, they can use my location if I tell them that they can. If I were to turn that off at the very top, that means nothing on my phone can track my location. This is totally up to you to whether you want to turn it off or on. I personally like leaving it on, and then I like customizing like my individual apps here. Most of them I just have it on. But for example, like Google Maps or your Apple Maps built into your phone. If I'm going to get GPS directions to a destination, I need to have my location on so that it can use that GPS and tell me where I'm going. But for maybe some other stuff, I don't need it to have my location. You can see that I have different airline apps in here. I need those to have my location so I can get updates if I'm in the airport, and then they'll tell me when my flight's leaving and stuff like that. So this is where you can go in and customize which of the apps on your phone have access to your location. And I'm going to do an example here like Facebook. So I can go in and straight up say Facebook can never have access to my location. That's totally up to you of what you can do. I like having it on for while using the app because then you can get different recommendations based on where you are and things like that. So again, just another way to customize the location services in there. And then down in here, you can customize the privacy and security for like Bluetooth, for example. So this is me saying these apps can have access to Bluetooth technology if they ever need to do something. Okay, you can do the same thing with, say, your photos, you can choose which of your apps might have access to your photo library. So another example here, Facebook. If I ever want to maybe post a status or update my profile picture, I need to go in here and say Facebook has access to my photos in order for it to do that. And that's not necessarily something that you need to do manually. If you don't have that set up, then when you open the Facebook app or another app that wants access to your photos, it'll actually give you a pop-up on your screen that says, hey, Facebook is requesting access to your photos. Do you want to give it full access or just access while you're using it or some other options? So that's how you can control this in here as well. And then for all these different areas on your phone, I would recommend you go in here and check this out and just make sure that your settings are where you want them for your privacy and security or for your kids as well. Okay. Again, if we have any questions about anything, feel free to put them in the chat. And then I'd be happy to answer them here on the call. Okay. Next up, I wanted to talk about our storage on our phones. I mentioned a little bit we were going to talk about local storage versus cloud storage on our phones. So if I go into general, again, from my main settings, and then kind of right in the middle of my screen here, you can see a section called iPhone storage. If I tap on that, this is going to tell me how much storage from different media that I have taking up my phone right now. So at the very top, you can see that I'm using 170.16 out of 256 gigabytes of total storage on my phone. And then it gives you a little breakdown of what's taken up the most storage. So my applications are taking up most of it. And you can actually see my culprit right at the top right there. It's an app called Nexar. That's actually the app that pairs with the dash cam that I have in my car. So if I have, so basically what this is doing is it's storing clips from when I drive on the app on my phone. It's actually using a ton of space. 63 gigabytes is a pretty good amount of space. That's yeah, a good chunk of what 25% or so of what's on my phone. That's a pretty good amount. So I'm actually probably going to go in there and audit that and maybe delete some of that storage. And you can see while I was in here, it kind of popped up with a couple of recommendations for how I can maybe manage my storage a little better. So for example, it's prompting me to offload any unused apps. So I have 118 apps on my phone. I don't use them all the time. And this is telling me essentially, hey, your data and your documents that are associated with those apps will be saved, but we're going to sort of remove the other storage stuff to save you some space on your phone. You can do that if you want to. I personally don't. I like to manage my own storage and choose what stays and what goes. And the same thing right below, it's saying, hey, review those large attachments that are in your messages. And you can save up to 7.13 gigabytes. So if you send photos or videos or things to friends and family in text messages, those actually stay in your text messages and they're stored on your phone. So this is where you could sort of go in there and then manage the storage as well. So again, this is the storage that's here on my iPhone. I want to talk about iCloud storage as well. iCloud storage is what is stored in the cloud. And with your iPhone, that's going to be in iCloud. So this is where you can get additional storage, where you can store things in the cloud instead of just locally on your phone. So I'm going to explain what that means, but I'm going to show you how to get there first. So I showed you how to get to your Apple ID. That's right here at the top, my name and my photo. So if I tap on that, and then I go down here to iCloud, this is going to show me my cloud storage that I have. And I actually pay a couple bucks a month for 200 gigabytes of cloud storage. I can't remember off the top of my head how much the free tier is. I think it's like 5 gigabytes or so. If I click change storage plan right here, I think it'll kind of tell me. Yeah, so I can upgrade if I want to. You can go all the way up to 12 terabytes of cloud storage, which is a ton of storage. Of course, it's 60 bucks a month. But the reason that I have this is you saw that I had room on my phone still. I don't necessarily need more storage. Of course, this is a great solution for if you're hitting your storage limit on your phone, you can start storing stuff in the cloud. And what that means is that any data that's put in the cloud is not stored locally on my phone. So if I were to lose my phone or it gets stolen or it breaks, I've got all of my data backed up to the cloud so that I can recover it if I ever need to. Again, in the event that my phone gets broken or lost or stolen, I want to keep my text messages. I want to keep all 12,000 photos that I have. So I've got those all stored in the cloud as well, and they're locked behind my account security settings. So you can see I pay $2.99 a month. That gets me 200 gigabytes of storage, which I like to back up. I have automatic backup set on my phone so that if I ever need to, I can restore a backup and then make sure I've still got access to all of my files, my photos, my messages, contacts, things like that. And another use case scenario for where this could be useful is say you're going to get a new phone, you're upgrading your iPhone. What you can actually do is make a complete copy of everything that's on your phone, and then you can quote unquote back it up to the cloud. And then once you get the new phone, you can take that backup and push it down to your new phone and essentially just push everything that you had on your old phone onto your new one. So that's what I did when I upgraded this phone, I think about 2 years ago or so now. It took a little bit of time, but it was really easy to do. All I had to do was sign into my Apple ID and then choose my backup for the phone, and then it put it all onto my new phone. So again, this isn't something that you necessarily need, but I like having cloud storage so that I can keep track of those. I can have a backup copy essentially of all my files and my photos and my messages and my contacts. So that's the difference between physical storage on your phone and storage in the cloud. All right. I want to talk a little bit about customizing the home screen and then downloading and deleting apps. So I guess I should mention how I'm actually getting to the home screen from the settings. So I have a newer phone. My newer, I mean everything newer than iPhone 8. I believe everything after that they got rid of the little circular button at the bottom of the phone. On those older iPhones, you just press the button and that gets you to your home screen. But on these newer ones, you just swipe your finger up from the bottom of the screen, and then that takes you back to your home screen right here. So when I'm on my home screen, you can see that mine, it kind of looks like a cluttered mess, but I know where everything is. And I have it sort of organized by files that I've named in here. This might be kind of hard to see, but you can see I have different folders like utilities, finance, work, food, games, that sort of stuff. So how I would organize that if I want to, I would just hold my finger down on one of my apps or my folders. So I'm going to hold my finger down, and then it's going to have this little menu that pops up right here. Number one, if I want to get rid of an app, this is the easiest way to do it. Just hold your finger down on it until the menu pops up and tap on Remove App. That's going to delete the app from your phone. But what I want to do is edit my home screen. So if I tap on Edit Home Screen, you can see everything kind of shaking and dancing around. And this is where I can start moving stuff if I want to. So how I would create a folder is I just hold my finger down on one of the apps, and then you can see my little Pokemon Go app right here is moving around. And then if I want to create a folder, I just drag it over the top of another app, and you can see it automatically creates a folder right there. And it even automatically names it for me based on what's inside. But if I wanted to, I could tap the little X and then rename this whatever I want to right here. And then whenever I'm done, I just tap my finger outside of the folder somewhere, and that takes me back to the edit home screen where I just was. Everything's still dancing around, and I can continue to move stuff around. And if I want to, I can move some things around. Again, just grab it and then pull it to different areas as well. And that's how you can customize where different things are. Okay. Some more customization that you can do here. You can see at the top left, there is a plus button. This is how I can add widgets to my phone, which are pretty cool. These are essentially just little shortcuts that you can add onto your phone so you can do stuff right from your home screen. So one of the examples that I gave recently was I'm going to do the clock. So if I tap on the clock, this is going to give me some options for a widget that I can add here to my home screen. And as I scroll left and right, you can actually see there's some different options for how this appears on my screen. Say I just want another digital clock on my screen. I just go over to this, I tap Add Widget, and it puts that widget right there on my home screen, and then I can even grab it and move it around as I like as well. I personally don't really use widgets all that much. I'm still kind of exploring how they work best for me, but I do know some people that really like to use them. I'm going to go ahead and delete this one just for the purposes of that. So again, if I were to go to, I'm going to try and find the weather one. And I can search for it right here. Boom, weather. So I'm going to go into weather, and there's quite a few different options in here that I can choose. And it even gives you different shapes as well. So this one right here is just a little square. But if I wanted to, I could go bigger, and I could even do like a rectangle or an even bigger one right here. So let's just say we just had daylight saving time begin. So I want to see what time the sunrise and the sunset is every day. So I'm going to go over to my sunrise and sunset widget. Then I'm going to tap add widget. And I'm just going to go ahead and put that right there. And I'm going to tap done at the top right. Now I just have a little shortcut widget monitor that shows me when the sunrise is and then when the sunset is each day. That's just one use case example for how widgets work on your home screen. So I would encourage you to play with these a little bit. Again, how I do that, hold my finger down on one of the apps, tap edit home screen, and then press that plus button in the top left of the screen right there. Okay, so we learned how to move stuff around. We learned how to delete apps. Let's talk real quick about how to download apps onto your device. So currently, I actually don't remember at all where my, I know I said I remember where everything was, but I can't remember where my app store is. So what I'm going to do, swipe down from the middle of my screen, again, to get to my search shortcut and type in app. That's going to be App Store right here. That is the one in the top left, the little blue icon with the kind of white A there. That's where I can download different apps, games, stuff like that onto my phone. Keep in mind, again, that I need to be signed in to my Apple ID in order to download apps onto my phone. You have to be signed into your Apple ID. So here from the App Store, I can browse through different sections. I can go down to games, for example, in the bottom menu. And this is going to give me, just some options for popular games and stuff that I can download on my phone. If I just go down to apps, it's going to do it by different sections. So most of these are free. Again, as I mentioned, you can see if they're free, they just say excuse me. But some of them, if they are paid, they will have a little price tag on. If I wanted to just download an app, let's say I want to download a game like Candy Crush, for example. I'm going to go down here to the search icon in the bottom right of the screen. And then my cursor is up there on the top. And I'm just going to type in Candy. And then it gives me some options right here based on my initial search key. So I'm going to tap the top one right here. And then if I wanted to, it's going to give me results, but I want the top one right here. I want Candy Crush Saga. Then if I want to download this, I just tap on the get button right here. So then I just need to press install. And then sometimes it will prompt me for my password right here, just like this. This is where you need to remember your password, because last thing anybody wants is to be trying to do something and then we're prompted to enter in a password that we don't remember. So I totally get the frustration behind this, but just keep your email and your password somewhere safe and somewhere handy, and you'll be able to do it. Okay. I'm not going to do that right now. But if I did, it would install onto my phone and then I could start using it. That's all you do. That's all it takes to download an app onto your phone. Okay. All right. One other thing I wanted to mention about apps is a little tip about closing apps that are running in the background. So you may have quite a few apps running in the background on your phone if you haven't closed them in a while. This is something that I try to do usually like on a nightly basis. I'll close all of the apps that have been running in the background on my phone. And I like to do this just because when you close an app officially, it sort of resets that app's functions. And then the next time you open it, it's a fresh new open. And then it processes new data as well when you open it. So sometimes apps get buggy and they get weird. And really the easiest way to fix most things is to close it and open it again. So how I do this is, again, on a newer iPhone, an iPhone 8 or a newer, I am just going to swipe up from the bottom of my screen, but I'm not going to lift my finger up. I'm going to swipe up while keeping my finger on the screen. So you can see once it gets about right here, other stuff popped up in the background. Those are my other apps that I have open right now. I'm going to do that one more time. So I'm swiping up from the bottom of my screen without lifting my finger off the screen. And then once I get to about right here, the other apps that I have open pop up, and you can see that I can actually scroll through them right here Um, and then I can hop to a different app. That's one of the main ways that I get around my phone is I open up um, my open apps like this. Say I was just using one app and I want to go to another one real quick. Instead of going all the way to my home screen and then finding that app, all I got to do is open up my apps and then pick a different one. And how I close them is once I'm in this screen, I grab that individual app with my finger and I swipe it upwards off the top of the screen. That officially closes that app. And another reason why you might want to do this is because apps running in the background can actually drain your battery a little bit. So it's a good idea to make sure you don't have a million apps running in your background. Okay, that was a good tip. One other little tip I want to actually we'll get to that when we get to my favorite shortcuts here. I did want to talk about a couple of camera settings that I think are super helpful. So I'm going to make sure that I've got good lighting here because I'm going to turn my camera on and kind of show you guys close-ups of me in a selfie real quick. So my camera icon, you can see in the kind of top right there is where I have mine. But again, in my control center, I also have mine set up to have the little camera icon right there. So that's how I get to it a lot of times. So I'm going to tap into my camera. Hey, everybody, closer view of me. So when we're in our camera here, I just wanted to point out a couple of different settings that you can sort of adjust in different areas that you can get to in your camera. So number one, you can see kind of right in the middle of my screen in the yellow text that I'm on photo mode right now. So what I can do from photo mode is choose which camera I want to take a photo from. So currently I'm on my front facing camera. This is how I would take a selfie, for example. But if I wanted to, you can see in the bottom right of my screen that there is a little kind of circle with some arrows around it. If I tap that, it switches to my other camera. I'm looking at my keyboard right now because I'm at my desk. So that's how I can switch between my front facing camera and my rear facing camera. Also, up at the very top, I've got that little arrow right in the middle of my screen at the top. I've got this little arrow that's pointing upwards. If I tap on this, the bottom of my screen where it just said photo, video, and all that, I tap on that arrow, this opens up some picture settings that I can choose from. So on the little lightning bolt right here, that's how I can turn my flash off or on. I usually just leave it on auto. I don't like using flash all the time personally. So if I wanted to, I could just turn it off. Or if I'm in a dark environment and I want to make sure that it uses flash to take that photo, I can turn it on. The one right next to it that sort of looks like a little crescent moon. This is a night mode camera shooting, and I actually really like this function. The newer iPhones have some really great capabilities for drawing in light and taking good photos at night. So I've taken some great photos at concerts and even just outside at night, like good sunset photos as well. And what you can do here is if I tap into this, I get this little slider and I can tell it how much exposure I want to give the lens. So if it's darker, more exposure means it's going to let more light in and it's going to take a brighter photo even in the dark. Now, my max right here only says 1 second because I'm in a pretty bright environment right now. But if I were to go in a darker environment, this can go all the way up to 10 seconds. And what that means is if it's on 10 seconds and I snap the photo, it's going to actually process 10 seconds of that exposure to let more light into the lens. So to make sure that that's a good photo, you need the foreground, the subject to not be moving because it's going to take 10 seconds of exposure for that to try and let as much light in to try and get that good photo. So play around with this. Go out in a dark environment and go in here to your photos, your camera app, go up to your menu, tap on this little kind of crescent moon symbol, and then play around with the different settings and take some photos in the dark and see how you like it. I've taken some really cool photos with this. Okay, other options right here I can do. So one of these, this one right here, this little kind of bullseye, this is what's called live photos. And live photos are kind of a cool thing that you can do on the iPhone. So I'm going to do an example right here. Essentially what they do is they capture a couple seconds of movement as a photo without sound. So I'm going to kind of move and then take my photo and then show you what that looks like. So if I look at it here, I'm going to tap into the photo. This is a live photo. So if I hold my finger down on it, you can see it captures a couple of seconds of movement there. This is pretty cool to do. Like if you're at the beach or out in nature or at the playground with the kids or something. And if you have live photos on and you snap different photos, it captures those couple of seconds of movement from when you took the photo, which is kind of cool. I personally don't really like using live photos all that much. I'm more of a video taker where if I want to capture movement, I'll just take a video. So I like to keep this off. But again, that's how you would turn it on if you wanted to. A couple other things to call out right here. You can see the 4:3. This is how I can change the aspect ratio of my photos. So I think it automatically sets it to 4:3, but you have a couple different options right here. So you can see I can change it to square. And then on the screen, you can see that actually shortened the vertical height of my aspect ratio. So it was 4:3, which means 4 pixels tall by 3 pixels wide, essentially. Or I can change it to square if I want to. Or I can even go 16:9, which means it's going to take the whole length of my phone screen. That's a 16:9 aspect ratio. And our fun fact, our YouTube videos and most movies and TV shows are actually shot in a 9:16 aspect ratio. That's the rectangle kind of wide screen that we're used to. And then the 16:9 is just the vertical orientation of that. And the reason why you might want to change this is one of the biggest use case scenarios I could think of is maybe you want to print some photos and you've got square photo frames. It makes sense to then take your photos in a square orientation so that they fit into your photo frame nice and neatly. Also, some social networks like Instagram and Facebook, they prefer different types of aspect ratios. And maybe you want all your photos to be uniform on an Instagram post or a Facebook post. So you might take them all square so that they all crop exactly the same when you upload them. So that's how you can do that. Okay, a couple more things here real quick. In this menu, um, the little timer stopwatch right here, that's exactly what it sounds like. It is a timer for your photos. So say you're taking a group photo maybe, and you want to be in the photo, you can set your timer to 3 seconds or 10 seconds. And then if I were to set 10 seconds right there and then tap on the photo where I take a photo, it's going to start counting down from 10. And then as it gets closer, you can actually see a little light flashing on the front side of your camera, and it'll kind of start to flash a little faster as it gets closer to taking that photo. So that's how you can do a timer. A couple more things to shout out here. I'm going to get rid of that menu. So this was the menu I was just in. I'm going to tap that arrow again, and then I can change what mode I'm in. So right now I'm in photo mode, but say I want to take a video. It's not going to let me do that because I'm sharing my screen right now, so I can't actually take a video. I can go to cinematic mode, which sort of creates, it does create more of a cinematic mode. It sort of focuses on the subject of the foreground and then sort of blurs out the background a little bit. You can take slow-mo videos. You can take time-lapse videos. It's kind of surprising that it's letting me do a time-lapse video right now. I actually did a cool time-lapse recently. I went to the beach during King Tides about a month ago, and I set up my phone on a tripod and I plugged it into power, and then I turned on time lapse and left it for about 4 hours. And then it took just a long exposure video of the tides, what I was pointed at, and turned it into about a 30-second video. So I got a really cool time lapse video over 4 hours from that. So if that's something you're into, that's how you would do that. You can also do portrait mode. And this just sort of, I'm not even sure, it might show it on the screen. Oh yeah, it kind of is. So what this does is it focuses more sort of on the subject, and it kind of creates a little bit more of a blur in the background and focuses more on the foreground. So really good if you want to take like, you're taking like nice photos of kids on the first day of school, or, something like that, where you want to make sure you've got nice kind of lighting and focus on the subject. And then another cool thing you can actually do is panoramic photos right here. So I like to do this mostly just for like nature shots, or like at the beach, for example. I have a ton of photos on my phone at the beach where I'm actually starting at one end and then I'm moving my phone to the right. And then it's taking a horizontal kind of landscape shot that you can then view on your phone. If you zoom in, you can take a panoramic photo. Play around with that. I think it's pretty cool. One other quick tip I wanted to mention, this is one of my favorite tips, is in Safari, which is your internet browser. That's this one right here that looks like a little compass. I have mine pinned to the sort of bottom, but Safari is your internet browser. So I have this one up of a recipe real quick, just as an example. This is where you can read articles and visit websites and things like that. One of my favorite features here in Safari is called reader mode. So I especially like using this for recipes and reading news articles and things like that. So what reader mode does is it kind of gives you a focused view of the article that you're reading. So if anybody's ever looked at a recipe on your phone, you've likely come across something like this where there's like a million videos and ads and stuff like that. I don't really care about any of that stuff. I want to see the recipe. That's why I'm here, right? So this was a recipe I was looking up for, I think, what was this? Cooking ribs. Yeah. So what I can actually do is down here at the bottom where I've got these kind of menu options, you can see the URL, the website that I'm at. There's those kind of a couple of letters down there, the big A and the small A. If I tap on that, that's where I can adjust a couple of settings for this website and for my browser in general. The one thing I'm going to focus on at the bottom is I can actually change how big the text is for this, just like that, which is a really nice feature. But what I'm going to tap on is show reader right there. So this puts it into reader mode, and you can see that it immediately gets rid of all that extra stuff, and it just shows me the content of the article or the page that I'm on right now. This is a really nice feature that I use all the time. And again, how I get there, right now it's in reader mode, so it's kind of highlighted in black down there just to show me that that mode is on. But if I want to turn it off, I can just go and click on hide reader. And I can actually even change the font, and I can change the background and the brightness and what this looks like. Really nice feature that I like using. I'm going to turn that off. So that's the reader mode, and that's in Safari. Okay. One more quick tip, how to take a screenshot and a screen recording. So if you were to press down at the same time the volume up button on your phone, that's on the left side of your phone if you're looking at it, and then the lock button on your phone, which is on the right side, if I press those both at the same time, you'll see it on the screen right here. That takes a screenshot of my entire screen right there. And then at the bottom left, I can tap on it and I can do some different things with it right here. So you can see that I can crop this, just dragging this little border down from the top or even from the sides right here. I can even, you can see at the bottom down there, I can even like choose a marker and I can draw on this. So you might not use this all the time, but let's just say as an example, recently I took a screenshot because I was going somewhere with a friend and I wanted to show him the best place to park. So I was in my Maps app and I had it open, and then I took a screenshot of the neighborhood that I was in, and then I did exactly just this. I circled a little area, and then I said, "Hey, this is a good place to park." And then I sent him this picture. So when I'm done, I just go up to the very top left and I click on done, and I can delete it. I can save it to my photos if I want to. So if I go boom, save to photos, it's now saved to the photos on my phone. So that's how you can take a screenshot if you ever need to. You can also take a screen recording on your phone, which is essentially it starts a video and then it captures everything that you're doing on your phone until you're done. I can't do that right now because I'm mirroring my phone for this tech talk, but how you would do that is from the control center. Remember, we're going to swipe down from the top right, and that little icon that's blinking right there, the red icon that's blinking, that's the screen recording button. So if we weren't in this tech talk, I could tap on that and then go back to my home screen, and then it's recording everything that I'm doing on my screen, and then I can save it as a video on my phone. I don't really do this all that often, but a good use case scenario would be you're trying to show somebody how to do something and you're not with them. Maybe you're trying to show someone how to download an app, or just do something on your phone. Go to your screen recording, turn it on, do what you want to show them, and then you'll have this, it's blinking red in the top left of my screen as well, just showing that my screen is being shared or recorded. Tap on that, and then it ends it, and then that's how you end your screen recording. Okay, that's a nice little tip. Does anybody have any questions about anything that we've talked about so far? How are we doing out there? We're over time, so we're just about getting ready to end the class, and I want to make sure we answer any questions that folks might have. So iOS 17 is the newest software version that is for all iPhones and iPads. I believe for iPhone, you have to have one newer than an iPhone 10 or newer. is what is supported for iOS 17. So I recommend updating your phone to the newest software just to make sure that you've got all the security patches and any bug fixes and updates that might come. Keeping your phone updated is a good idea. So what's new in iOS 17? A couple of cool little features. So the first one is a function called live voicemail. So I actually experienced this today. What this does is if you get a phone call from a number that's not saved in your phone, so it's an unrecognized number that's not saved in your contacts, if they leave you a voicemail, it's actually going to transcribe it on the screen live in real time, and you can read what the voicemail is that they're leaving you, and then you can pick up the phone if you want to, if you see that it's something that you need to pick up the phone for. So maybe you're getting a message from your doctor about an appointment or something like that. Um, Really good way to screen calls too. We all get lots of spam calls nowadays, and that's a nice way to sort of screen them as well. Similarly, you can leave and receive video voicemails when using FaceTime. So FaceTime is the video calling app that's built into iPhones. If you call somebody and they don't answer, if you call them with FaceTime and they don't answer, you can actually leave them a voicemail, a video voicemail as well. So kind of cool. iOS 17 has some improved autocorrect and text prediction features. So I'm sure we've all been typing out a text message and we try to type something and then it autocorrects to something totally different. There's some kind of new features built into the phones that get a little bit better about learning what sorts of things that you type. So it's not going to give you those kind of wild suggestions with autocorrect. We talked about interactive widgets on home screen. So a lot of that stuff that I showed you is actually new, and how you can kind of use those widgets to do stuff right from your home screen, like see the sunrise and the sunset. And then it kind of has a cleaner interface in messages to access your apps, photos, and more. So if you're in a text message with somebody, there's a little plus symbol on the left side where you can tap it, and then you can go into your photos or some different areas on your phones to make it way easier to share stuff with people. They sort of cleaned up that interface a little bit to make it easier to use. And then there's lots more updates that have come with iOS 17. I encourage you to maybe research these on your own a little bit, just sort of give it a Google, just Google search iOS 17 updates, and then maybe read about it if you're curious. So I don't see any questions that have come in, but I just want to remind folks that the recording of this class is going to be available on the DataVision YouTube channel shortly. So you can go back and watch something. If you might have missed it the first time I went over it, feel free to check out the recording and see if you missed something. So that's going to be on our YouTube channel. Then if you have any additional questions or comments, please feel free to send us an email at customercare@datavision.coop. And then once this meeting ends, you're going to see a kind of window pop up to a survey. I'd love it if you could take just a minute and let me know what you thought of the class. That would be amazing. Okay, so with that, we're going to conclude for the evening. I want to thank you one more time for giving us some of your time this evening. Keep your eyes peeled for additional Tech Talk announcements and more information about future Tech Talks and other events that DataVision has going on. So thank you so much again. Have a great night, everybody.